We are waiting for what could be a bombshell hearing today if the reports are correct, and it's going to look into the IRS targeting scandal. The agent from that infamous Cincinnati office that we heard so much about in the beginning of this will actually get a chance to tell her side of the story before a House committee. Now, after the Obama administration repeatedly blamed the targeting of these conservative groups on just a couple of rogue agents back in a small office, the way it was portrayed in Ohio, now we've got to hear from this woman. Now, that remember, the then acting IRS Commissioner Stephen Miller talked about this when he testified back in May. Watch.
People in Cincinnati decided, let's start grouping these cases. Let's centralize these cases. The way they centralized it, troublesome. The concept of centralization, not. And it's not, we're not targeting these people in that sense.
Well, Congressman Issa is the chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, and he joins me once again now. Congressman, welcome. Good to have you here. When you listen now to those words from Stephen Miller, who claims that, you know, it was these couple of agents, they got this idea, they thought it was going to make it more efficient in a way to cull through these applications. Elizabeth Hoffager, from what we understand, who's one of those agents, is about to say something very different today, is she not?
Exactly. She's going to describe how she began the process. She was there early on, and it was quickly sent to Washington, where the orders continually seemed to come to do what the former acting commissioner called not distressing. You know, the truth is that decisions were made, as far as we can tell, properly in the beginning, and then this grouping was a way to stop literally hundreds of applications, and you will hear testify that it went to Washington. Then a Washington 48-year career veteran, Carter Hull, is going to testify that it went from there to high-ranking people, including the office of the consul. And the general counsel is one of the political appointees at the commission.
You know, I find this part really fascinating, Congressman. And so Carter Hull, you know, you've got sort of everybody pointing at the next person up the line here. So Elizabeth Hoffager's working in Cincinnati. She says, no, don't look at me. I got my orders from Carter Hull in Washington. So now you're telling me that we're going to hear from Carter Hull and that he will testify, no. I was shocked myself to be getting information and input on this from even higher up. And from what I read, he said it's never happened to him in his whole career that was the case.
You're exactly right, Martha. And what's so amazing, Carter Hull is believable because he is a real expert. 48 continuous years of service. This is a person who dedicated his entire life, far beyond when he could have retired, to doing this and doing it well. And he found himself frustrated. He's going to testify to that. And then we're going to have the Inspector General testify, because the minority on the committee would still like to shift from what they can no longer defend, this idea that it was rogues in Cincinnati. They want to shift to it was progressives too. And the IG is prepared to talk in detail, to the greatest extent possible, about what he saw and how he saw this targeting, this grouping and then targeting of hundreds of conservative groups.
Yeah. Well, no doubt they're going to want to know from Russell George, the Inspector General, why he didn't talk earlier about the fact that progressive groups were also targeted. So hopefully we'll get some of that fleshed out and understood in a better way today. But I want to go back to Carter Hull. Who will he say directed him to this deeper investigation of these groups that he says was unprecedented in his experience?
Well, he's going to say two, and I won't use the word unprecedented, but the treatment was unprecedented. One, he's going to say Lois Lerner. You might remember that she botched her taking the fifth some time ago, and we're still dealing with that. Additionally, you're going to hear the Office of the Consul and several specific attorneys there. And what's important there is that is most unusual for it to go there, be worked, and die. And again, this is one of only two political appointment positions at the IRS, and that's a particular concern. It's the reason that we will follow this information to the next series of our interviews.
You wonder what the White House response is going to be, because we all remember hearing from Jay Carney that this was an unfortunate incident and that it went back to these rogue agents in Cincinnati. If this woman's story is what you're telling us it is, that's going to make that story appear to not be the case.
Well, there's no question that Jay Carney has to say what he's told to say and that the inaccuracy eventually gets corrected. But this is another example where the assumption, which we could never make and I hope no one makes, that somehow it's the first answer is the right answer. Get the facts. It turns out it is not rogue agents in Cincinnati. It's not even rogue agents who are at the next level at the IRS. And we need to get to the people really responsible and find out why.
Yeah. Well, the White House has said they want to do that as well. So everybody's going to be watching what these folks testify to today very closely in your hearing.